8th, and we want to welcome our new commissioner, Commissioner Vincent, here with us. He got sworn in on Monday, so we're throwing him right in, and we're going to hope he can run the computer as we process through here. So, quickly before we get into the invocation and pledge, I'll just note that we are making a slight change to the agenda. Item number 7, the commissioners' items will be moved to after item number 11, after public comment, and we'll handle the commission chair position and commissioner assignments after that. So we'll be moving that down the agenda, so we won't handle it there. But we'll start off with an invocation given by Commissioner Bingham, and then we will all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance given or led by our clerk, Marley Young.
Our Father in heaven, as we come before thee this evening, we're grateful unto thee for the blessings of our lives, for our families and our freedoms, and the opportunity to strive to do good with our time while we're here on this earth. Thankful unto thee for our assignments in local government, and pray that thou will help us to remember who we serve and serve diligently and studiously and do the very best that we can. We ask for thy spirit to be with us in attendance at this meeting this day, that what we do will be according to thy mind and will. And we thank thee for all of our many blessings in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All right, we'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from December 4th.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Vincent, a second from Commissioner Bingham. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. All right, one thing I want to bring up, I mentioned earlier, we did receive an invitation. We just want the people of Box Elder County to be aware of the fact that the Northwest Band of the Shoshone Nation will be holding their 162nd anniversary of the Bear River Massacre on Wednesday, January 29th, 2025. It'll be held at 11 a.m. at the Daughters of Pioneer Historical Marker on US 91 milepost 13.1, which is about 2.5 miles north of Preston. And people are invited to attend if they'd like to do that. And there's more information if people are interested. If they go to the Northwest Band of Shoshone's website, they can share more information about that. But they are great members of our community and continue to invite us and are doing some amazing things here. So we wanted to make sure the public's aware of that. Yeah, let's see, former agenda items.
Okay, I have a former agenda item.
Go ahead.
If I can just review a little bit about what happened to our bridge last spring at 12,000 north, east of Highway 13 in the Tremont area. Just as the canal had been turned in, that corrugated bridge failed, and the county road crew.
The pipe failed, not the bridge, right?
Excuse me.
That's right.
Yeah, the pipe, the corrugated pipe failed, and that was what caused the problem with the bridge, correct?
Yeah, the corrugated pipe failed, which was the bridge. Okay, all right.
Just make sure I got
But
that.
anyway, so we worked with the canal company, helping get that up and going because the irrigation season was just starting. We have since planned and had a bid for a company to come in and replace that bridge. That was scheduled to start on the 6th of January. Part of that plan made so that the bridge would be just a little wider. And in order for that to be safer and have a shoulder on the road, and the canal company has some bylaw issues with that. Darren and Lee and I met with the chairman of the board and the manager, and we discussed some issues. And at this time, I feel like probably what we ought to do is turn that over to the county attorney's office and let them review it so that we know what's the right way to go moving forward.
It's my understanding that there's an agreement they would like us to sign. We probably ought to put that on the agenda for next commission meeting.
So we can we'll put the Bear River Canal Company issues on the agenda, but in the meantime, we can have the county attorney's office review it with us and discuss. Okay,
That's right.
Okay.
great. All right, anything else on former agenda items?
No.
Okay. Under emergency management issues, I'm gonna just give you some information here. The annual search and rescue banquet was held this last week. And we have an amazing search and rescue here in Box Elder County with the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office Search and Rescue. And I'm just going to give you a kind of a rundown of their report that they issued there. They started out the year in 2024 with 35 members. They ended the year with 32 active members, including 5 that were probationary throughout the year that they swore in as full-time, became full-time active members who went through a whole bunch of training to get to where they're at. So that's 32 solid. And then starting this last week, they have 5 additional probationary members that have joined their ranks and will have to go through training, and hopefully all 5 will go through and be added to the ranks next year. But just to give you some idea of the sacrifice and the service that these individuals provide, because these are not employees of the county, they're volunteers. Just for trainings and meetings that these individuals had to go to, they put in almost 23,805 miles that they drove on their personal vehicles, et cetera, to go to trainings and meetings. And there was a total of 1,231 hours entailed there, that just in the trainings and meetings that these folks that are on that search and rescue entailed. They actually went to some extra training this last year and had a result of almost 4,000 additional miles. Some of the things they went to that was extra was the state winter seminar and backcountry training, and the Cache County winter seminar, and it said the Fish Lake man tracking seminar in Sand Hollow, and also a Sand Hollow training. And that incorporated another 247 volunteer man hours at that point. Individuals also put in extra time improving certain skills that help them do the job of being search and rescue better, and that resulted in an extra 94 hours and 84 extra miles. And as you all are aware, if you're here from Box Elder County, every year we see them at the fair and at Peach Days. They put in inordinate number of hours between the Peach Days and fairs, helping and assisting keeping the public order and providing a safer environment for us to recreate as citizens here in Box Elder County. Call-outs for the search and rescue team this last year resulted in almost 20,000 miles on their vehicles and almost 1,300 hours of man-hour work out there doing that. With training and call-outs, that brought the mileage to about 50,000 miles in 2024, and the average time, or the total time they would have spent as a search and rescue, was about 3,083 hours, which would be just a little bit more than equivalent of one full-time employee. But the thing you have to realize is there's a lot of training, and so even though there's 35 of them, we don't have them all here all the time, but they're out there doing things that one employee couldn't do by themselves anywhere. But just to give you, they put this together, and I think this is conservative. They said the national average hourly rate for a search and rescue member would be $31 an hour. And that would equate to, when you look at all this, the savings to the county would be, just to the Sheriff's Department, potential savings, if you did the $31 an hour, would be $38,843 just for the members during their call-out time. And if you were to calculate all the hours, including training, it would save the county a total of 95,573 hours. And that doesn't count the fact that these are folks that are fully trained and doing a lot of stuff that it took them a long time to get here, and all their equipment and all the other things that these individuals use. We do provide them a lot of things, but they also drive a lot of their own vehicles and get there and do a lot of amazing things. Just to give you a couple other things, some of the bigger call-outs that this group was involved on in April, a select group of individuals were able to go out to Lucin, and they helped with the recovery of Dylan Round's remains. And I will point out that one of our search and rescue members assisted our Sheriff's Department detectives in helping to locate and help make that case go forward. And so there was a lot of folks involved in the Dylan Rounds case, including our search and rescue that went out to recover his body, but did other things to assist our Sheriff's Department, which was just amazing. In August, our search and rescue was able to perform the recoveries of 3 separate individuals, and I know these are difficult because of deaths. On August 3rd, there was a drowning at Willard. On August 10th, just a week later, there was another drowning at Willard, and on August 18th, there was a lightning strike on the Bear River, and they had to go out, and again, another victim that died there. So 3 in less than 2 weeks that these individuals on our search and rescue had to be involved in. And then in September, on September 27th and on October 25th, our search and rescue again was called out to help with similar recovers. One was from a base jumper, and another one was from a paraglider along the Willard Peak, Willard area, that they had to go out and help recover those individuals who were killed. And so it's not always, we say search and rescue, and it seems glamorous to go out and catch and find somebody and bring them home to their family. That's great, but sometimes it's not pleasant, and these folks do a lot of amazing things for our county. And we just appreciate the search and rescue members, and as importantly, we want to point out as a commission, we're grateful for their families that support them in doing this. And I know, talking to the sheriff, he just knows he doesn't have the manpower. We as a county couldn't afford to provide the kind of manpower that these volunteers and folks in our community provide to us. And we just want to recognize and thank them for what they do. So, and we'll give a copy of that to our clerk to put in the minutes as well to go with that, all the information we got on that. So we'll go on, there's nothing on ARPA and LATCF today. We'll go on to items number 8, County Attorney's Office. We'll start with Ordinance 611, Unlawful Dog Behavior Ordinance.
Yes, by way of introduction to that, Mr. Rich Garrett, who's here tonight, came before the county commission probably back in July, trying to remember when it was, with some concerns about some issues he was having with some dogs in the area.
You may need to take that mic just a little closer for her to get the recording. There you go.
Thought I was good. And so the county commission asked me to sit down with him and come up with an ordinance that would be acceptable to the county and acceptable to him. We've been working on that. And we do have an ordinance now. I've got Tyler Holmes, he's the Justice Court prosecutor who'll be prosecuting under this ordinance. And he'll just come up for a minute and explain some highlights about that ordinance.
That'd be
And I
great.
don't know if you want to talk to Rich or not after that, but
Okay. Just state your name before we start.
Tyler Holmes. So I've had a chance to review this ordinance. This is different than the vicious dog ordinance that's already in the county. The vicious dog ordinance is more tied towards animals attacking, or dogs attacking animals or humans, whereas this one is more associated with animals and property damage to neighbors' properties, as well as it covers dogs barking during certain hours. And so we really try to kind of want to, I guess, be good members of our county and respect others. And I think this does address those points fairly effectively. An exception to this is if the dog's provoked into barking or something like that, it's not going to be considered unlawful dog behavior. And what proof this ordinance contemplates is it either needs to have a video or audio recording or 3 witnesses that observe this behavior. And once they have that, then they can contact the sheriff, and then the sheriff can come out and talk to the offending party and give them 10 days to make right the situation. If the dog's barking, to put some controls in place to stop it or give them an opportunity to fix any property damage that it might have. And then if they don't fix the problem, then we can prosecute it in the justice court and then have the court more or less order the person then to comply with the ordinance. And so that's what that would look like.
Okay. Do you want to have,
it's up to you whether you want to talk to Rich or not. I don't know if he has something he wants to say.
the only question I have for one of you, and I don't know which one, I've read it. This isn't, I mean, it's a class, I'm looking Class C misdemeanor. It won't have any effect on, I think, the state law right now, if an animal, like especially mostly dogs, if they were out attacking wildlife, things like that, that's still gonna trump this, right? The state law would?
Yeah.
Okay, that's, so that we don't cross over, and they could still cite, if the wildlife folks could still cite the wildlife code and that kind of thing, okay?
Yep.
Perfect.
2 different violations.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Oh, I read it. I thought it was
Okay.
great. It looked like it covered everything.
Okay, anything else we need to talk about on this?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion to approve the ordinance 611, unlawful dog behavior ordinance.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Vincent, a second from Commissioner Bingham to approve ordinance 611, unlawful dog behavior ordinance. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. All right, let's go to interlocal agreement 2503, Bear River Association of Governments. Do you want to have them come up, or do you want to just present on it?
Doesn't matter. I can just present what's happened, but if they want to come up, that's okay
Okay,
too.
so if there's questions, we have the director of Bragg here,
Right.
so if we have any questions, we can have them come up, so go ahead.
So this agreement, you recall, it was on the agenda probably a month ago. A draft had been prepared by one of the attorneys over at Cache County Attorney's Office. It was reviewed by myself and also Rich County. Some suggestions were made, changes were made to it. Those are all incorporated in the agreement. I've reviewed it. It's acceptable to me. And so it's just on the agenda tonight for approval.
Okay, yeah, we did most of the changing. Do either commissioners have a question or concern about it?
No, I read it.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the interlocal agreement 25-03 with Bear River Association of Governments.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Bingham, a second from Commissioner Vincent to approve the interlocal agreement 2503 with the Bear River Association of Governments. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, let's do the Fourth Amendment to Grant Agreement 2505 for broadband access grant.
commissioners are probably familiar with this. This is an amendment to the grant for the broadband. It's the fourth amendment. We've looked at it. Essentially, the reason for the amendment is to extend the conclusion of it. It goes from, let me find it here really quick. It goes from February to, I think, is it the end of March? Let me pull it up.
I'm looking here real quick. I guess it actually says, shows Second Amendment, oh, there's C. Find the date, end date.
Let's see. Let me find where it says. I just read it a second ago.
So, oh yeah, end of March, March 31st. So it basically says it modifies project completion date from February 1st, 2025 to a new estimated project completion date of March 31st, 2025.
And the other is to change the scope of work, some of the places that there was not going to be broadband. I do have a little bit of concern with that one. If you read that paragraph, it just says to modify the locations of deployment and the number of households and business passed, but it doesn't specify what that modification is. So my suggestion would be is that we approve it subject to them specifying what that modification is.
Okay?
I think the assumption is it's to remove the Willard area from the agreement.
Correct. It was to remove Willard and South Willard.
If
and
you
to
read,
make
if you read below, it talks about the area, but that's not really the amendment, so it's just really unclear.
So we could make that motion to accept it with the proposed changes.
Right, and then we send it back to them and say, specify in here what it is, and then we can go ahead and sign it. So you wouldn't
Okay.
have to bring it on the agenda again, you could just do it.
That would work. Okay, anything else? Any other questions, commissioners?
Nope.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Fourth Amendment to the grant agreement 2505 for the broadband access grant with those modifications.
That we'll have put in the county attorney's office. Okay.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Bingham, second from Commissioner Vincent to accept the Fourth Amendment of the grant agreement 2505 for the broadband access grant with the opportunity for the county attorney's office to lock in that language that we've asked. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, next one is, we'll go to Cheryl. It's the State Office of Victim and Crime Report. Our annual report, right?
This is gonna be review for you two, but probably new.
It'll be good for, well,
Did you guys get the PowerPoint?
I think it
Okay.
should be on there, so click on the,
Just the down there.
yep, there you go.
Awesome. So as you know, I get to do this twice a year because of the lovely grant that we
What's that?
have
Oh,
through the state
microphone
office.
just a little closer,
Oh, my
Cheryl.
goodness, okay. So yes, we get to do this twice a year as part of the grant requirements that we have. So go ahead and hit next. And you can click again. That's our Tammy and Erin. And you guys know me. That's just some of the stuff about me. You can keep going. You can skip over me. Tammy has been with the county now for 5 years. She also volunteers in her spare time for the YCC shelter down in Ogden as part of their sexual assault response team that goes out to the hospital. And then Erin is our new victim advocate. She's been with our office for a few months, but she's been a victim advocate in a community-based setting for about 3 years, and she just got accepted into the USU Master Social Work Program. I don't think you even know that, Steve. Now you do.
Well, and you know what's cool about Erin? I learned about her
Yeah, what's
is
that?
that she came here to Utah from Washington D.C. and loved it so much now most of her family's moved out here with her. So
true.
that tells you the
That's
difference between that D.C. place back there and our wonderful place we have here in Utah. So
Yeah, we're lucky to have
it was
her.
fun to hear her. Yeah.
Lucky to have her. So go ahead next, Tom. So in the last 6 months, and we'll go over a little bit more detail, go ahead. We've started the 24/7 hotline and on-scene response for law enforcement. Some of those incidents that you talked about prior, we've been out on those. We've hired Miss Erin, and then Tammy received the Dennis Guether Justice Award from the Utah Homicide Survivors Organization. There were three victim advocates recognized statewide, and she was one of them by their organization.
And if people in this room don't understand that award in particular was generated out of a homicide that occurred in this county. So it's kind of, that is neat that she got the award because
Yes.
you guys had a lot to do with that, so.
Yes, she was great. So go ahead and do that. So Tyler, this is more for you. These two probably already know it. Where there's three of us, all three of us cover district court cases. I have administrative duties, and then Tammy covers juvenile court cases, and then Aaron covers justice court cases. So that's how it's all divided. And Tyler, I don't know if you know this or not, we're not the same. There's victim advocates like at New Hope and other shelters. We're not quite the same. We have different role. We are what is called a system-based advocate, and you find advocates like that in law enforcement, prosecuting offices, things like that. And so go ahead and click the next one. So part of that is that our confidentiality isn't quite the same. You can keep clicking. We're able and should be able to provide information to our prosecutors about what's happening with our victims because it absolutely impacts the case and what's going on. And this is where we're able to help law enforcement, is that we may provide confidential communication to law enforcement officers, where our community-based advocates at New Hope are not able. Their confidentiality is quite high, and it should be. So our confidentiality is a little bit different, but it allows us to work with law enforcement and with our prosecutors in a way that we're able to advocate for our victims better. So go ahead to the next one. So the numbers we'll go over, and I'm not going to go over all of them. You'll see them in front of you. These are crimes that happened against people here in Box Elder. There are most people are residents of Box Elder, but some of our victims are not. Some of our victims are elsewhere in the state or even out of state. So, so go ahead and click. Go ahead. So for the last 6 months through this quarter, we had 295 victims that we provided services. And then this last quarter was 312 victims. And so those are some of the numbers. These are not all of the victimizations that we have, but a good representation of the majority that we have. So you can kind of look at those numbers and see where we're at. We won't
When you have
get into all
DUIs,
of
you're
it.
talking about DUIs that have injuries or have juveniles involved?
DUIs that have like either injuries or damage to other vehicles, or we have kids in the car, things like that.
Okay.
So you'll see on the bottom, hotline calls and on-scene response. If you remember, we just started that in July. And through that, we were still doing our trainings with law enforcement. And so our hotline calls mostly are coming from domestic violence calls. By law, that they are required to call us after they have called New Hope advocates. By law, they are also required to call a system-based advocate as well. And so you can see that those numbers have increased greatly from that first quarter to the second quarter. On-scene response are those death notifications or situations where we have, like you talked about, where just some extra support is needed for the family member. And so we've been able to help family members and law enforcement as they're able to do what they need to do, and we can help the families through that. So, yep, keep clicking. You don't need to know about the Victim Bill of Rights at the moment. You can keep going. So this gives you an idea of some of the rights that they do have and what we do. To be treated with fairness, respect, and dignity, and to be free from harassment and abuse through the criminal justice process. So in the last 6 months, we helped with protective orders, and then most of those are going to be our criminal protective orders, our pre-trial protective orders, sentencing, and continuous. So we assisted 74 times on that. Go ahead and click. And then if we have a victim who we feel like their rights are being kind of infringed on, we're going to get them in touch with a victim attorney who is specifically just their attorney as well. And then this is our soft interview room where we meet with victims. We meet with them quite often. If you'll click on the next one, you can see in the last 6 months we had about 70. I think it's actually a little bit more than that, but we had 70 meetings with victims. So you can just keep clicking through. Those are some of the numbers over the last 6 months of what we have done to try to keep our victims informed, to let them know what their rights are, to help them understand what's going on with court. That's a big part of what we do, is trying to help them understand what's happening in a court, have them involved, make sure that their voice is being heard. And then, of course, down at the bottom, helping people with their victim impact statements. At sentencing, they have a right to be heard by the judge, and so we make sure that they have that opportunity and they are given that time, so. And then, of course, restitution is a big part of it as well. You can keep clicking through. And then the secure waiting area, we have that upstairs in a conference room that's on the south end, that if a victim feels like they need to be in there, because unfortunately, often they're up in the lobby with their alleged perpetrator. And so we do what we can to make sure that they're separated. Oh. Yep, go ahead, click.
You gave me 12 slides,
Okay, hold on.
sorry.
That's okay. Maybe not. I think that's pretty much it. I think for me, I just want to publicly thank our victim advocates, Tammy and Aaron. They actively listen to victims, provide them emotional support, navigate them through the legal system, connect them to necessary resources, and empower them to make informed decisions. They have taken the additional responsibility of on-call, where they not only support family members who have just lost a loved one, or support for victims of domestic violence, but provide support to local law enforcement agencies as well. I also want to thank the prosecutors in our office who are dedicated to providing justice for victims. I also want to thank our paralegals, who often end up talking with our victims and help them when we are not there. And finally, I want to thank all of you for your support. It is very much a team effort in what we do and try to do for our victims in this county. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thanks for all you guys do. Yeah.
Thanks.
And like I said, after talking to your new one the other day for her birthday lunch, it was
Yeah.
really fun to find out that she came here to Utah State, loved being out here because her grandfather gone to Utah State. And then, like I said, all of her family found out how much she loved it, and they've moved out to be here with her. And she's seemed to be doing an excellent job talking to her that day. So exciting.
She's great. We're lucky to have her.
Yep.
We miss Michelle Clough, who we had there for a while, but she's moved on, and we're lucky to have Erin now, so.
Well,
Thanks, Cheryl.
it's great to get to know her.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Okay. Let's go on to our next public hearing for surplus property disposal. Scott. We'll call a public hearing after you explain the item, and then we'll go into the public hearing.
Sounds great. I'll just
I don't know, do we need to do separate public, and we can just do one public hearing for both properties? Is that? Shouldn't be, do we need to do one individual, do one on each?
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Okay, so we have two public hearings for surplus property disposal issues. Do we need to do a public hearing on each one individually? Or can we do them together?
Each one should probably be separate.
Okay, we'll start with the first one here. It's Bear River City property.
Okay, so this property is just, it's for, the public hearing is for an agricultural lease. The previous lease expired at the end of 2024, and as part of the surplus property disposal process, which is what these leases fall under, requires determining the highest value. So the lease was put out to a bid process. Bids came in, and basically, once the bidding portion is done, then the person who won the bid, public hearing is to be held. That person on this property, so this property is located at 4300 North, 4800 West, so it's south of Bear River City, 39 acres in size. And the person who won the bid is Luke Anderson. Yeah, and this lease, we bumped it up from a 3-year lease to a 5-year lease, so this one would go until the end of December 2029. And
So is this the one that's parallel to State Road 13?
yeah,
So is there anything in there if for some reason we had a higher use for it at some point, we could go back in
yep.
and break that? Or how much notice do we have to give? And we're gonna go 5 years, but what do we have to give if we're gonna?
You have to pull that up in the contract. Let's see. $30 days.
30 days, okay.
Yep.
Good to know. Okay. Any questions from the commissioners on this particular?
Yep, I'm sorry, I was busy. Who are the people that are trying to lease it?
This one's Luke Anderson.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right, so we'll declare this open for a public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak to this particular property disposal or at this point process we're going through?
Yeah, lease, not disposal, right?
Yeah, well, in this case, it's a lease, yeah. Seeing none, we'll call that public hearing closed, and we'll go to the next item for the public hearing for surplus property disposal for Plymouth property. Do we need a motion to close it? Okay.
I'll make a motion. We close the public hearing for surplus property disposal, Bear River City property.
Second.
A motion from Commissioner Bingham, second from Commissioner Vincent to close the public hearing for surplus property disposal for Bear River City. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right. Now we'll open a public hearing for surplus property disposal Plymouth property. Scott.
So this property, as stated, is located up in the unincorporated Plymouth area. 19,800 north, 6,000 west. This one's 40 acres in size. The winning bid on this one was Nick Hawks. Nick Hawks also had the prior lease as well. And this one would be for the same time frame. It would expire at the end of December 2029. And basically, same contract. If the county did need to get out of this one as well, we would be able to do that within a 30-day notice. So
Okay.
So is this farm ground, grazing ground?
correct. Both of these are ag
Farm and
leases.
grazing, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
And just as a, I don't know if we have to put out as a conflict, but Nick is an employee of the county, but he has every right to put in for this as well. So he
Yep. It's a
put in
closed,
through the proper process. So,
closed bid process. And
yep.
Yep.
Okay. Any public comment on this one? Seeing not, I'll come back to the commission for close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion. We close public hearing for the surplus property disposal in Plymouth.
Second.
Have a motion to close the public hearing for surplus property disposal in Plymouth from Commissioner Bingham, a second from Commissioner Vincent. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. It's closed. Okay.
So those two
Last one.
contracts, we'll have those to you on the, your next meeting, January 22nd meeting. And then you can motion to approve those lease contracts and
next
sign
meeting?
those at that meeting.
Okay, great. All right, let's go on to CPF 2303, Manaway Corridor Preservation Fund request.
Yeah, so this is I mean, you guys are familiar with this from other ones. Tyler's familiar with this from when he was a mayor with Brigham City and participated on the COG. This is a project that was approved in October of 2023 by the COG and November of 2023 by the County Commission. Manaway has successfully completed that project and submitted the appropriate paperwork to be reimbursed for the project, and they are requesting a reimbursement of $89,150.
So who inspects that? Does somebody inspect that's completed, or?
Yeah, we went out and we also received a letter from their engineer.
Oh.
It's a third-party consultant, and also along with the paperwork for everything that had been completed, the invoices for that work that had been completed, the payment of those invoices that have also been completed. So
Okay, thanks.
sometimes the city will request that we pay the invoices directly out of that fund, and then sometimes they'll just pay it and then submit those paid invoices to us for reimbursement, so.
Okay, thanks.
Any questions? Okay.
I'll make a motion
Okay,
that we approve CPF 23-03 Manaway Corridor Preservation Fund request.
I'll second it.
a motion for Commissioner Vincent, a second Commissioner Bingham, that we approve CPF 2303 Manaway Corridor Preservation Fund request. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Appreciate that, Scott.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go on to our Fire Marshal's office, the approval of the 9th brain contract. I want to know what the 9th brain contract is. Oh, you're gonna have Corey handle it, okay. Just come on up and introduce yourself.
I'm Corey Oakes, I'm Fire Department EMS Coordinator, and we have a potential contract with a company called Ninth Brain. that provides several services all into one platform. It is a learning management system that provides online education for continuing education for all of our EMS personnel that's required by the state for their continued license maintenance. Additionally with that, it does credential tracking. So with the potential growth that we have as the county starts to grow, it allows us as administrators to track all of our employees and their EMT licenses, their CPR certifications, any required licenses. And then on the employees' part, as they come due, because there's no standard, there are varying periods when they come due. At approximately the 6-month mark, the 90-day mark, we will get emails as well as they will advising them to that these requirements are coming due. That will prevent us from ever having a situation where we have somebody responding on an EMS call with an expired certification, which would put us at a liability. Additionally in there, it also lets us track our licenses for maintenance on all of our biomedical equipment to make sure that's current, as well as be able to create checklists for equipment and vehicle checks to make sure that they're adequately supplied and staffed and maintained within the standards that the state has set.
Other than their bill they sent to us says Elder County, so I guess we don't have to pay it, right? We can just get the service, no, anyway. Any questions you have? And I know County Attorney, you've
Yeah,
seen it?
I'm a little confused. My understanding was this was an agreement for mental health issues, but it doesn't sound like that's a separate agreement.
No, we had two contracts because the legislature last year passed a bill that required all EMS agencies to have mental health support available for first responders.
Right.
We pulled that one out of the agenda because that is covered through the
Right.
EAP that
That's
the
my
county has.
understanding as
So
well.
that would have been a duplication that was not necessary.
Okay. So I don't think I've seen this agreement. I don't think the county office has reviewed it. You could, if you'd like us to review it, we can do it subject to our review and approval. Did she review this one? Because this is the one,
Review both of them.
this is the one that she told me it was the mental
They
health.
were both sent together, so they got a little confused.
I wondered, does she realize they were both sent together?
Yeah, she did. Pretty sure she did.
So right now, so the money for this is actually coming out of the county, out of the fund we have over there now, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and we're just talking licensure for the current EMS folks that we have, mostly in the western part of the county, but
Yeah.
could expand beyond that.
Yeah,
if
but
this-
we can also be incorporated to those that do volunteering with us for like the fair and for
Okay.
other events, so that so we have a lot of providers that do volunteer time with us as well, and that will allow us to verify their credentials as well as the ones that we have that staff our ambulances on the west side of the county.
Yeah, so basically, there's nothing locking us in. This is a yearly contract, right?
Yeah, it's a 1-year contract. It is, in the past, we have used a company called Vector Solutions. This is approximately the same cost that one does, but it does not only the learning management, but it adds on all the other components. So it's actually more cost-effective than what we have had in the past.
And I notice if we pay once, we get a discount for making a yearly payment, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion, commissioners? I'd entertain a motion.
I will make a motion. So, let me ask one question. So you're comfortable that Annie's reviewed that?
I was just gonna say, do we want the
Well,
attorney to
in
review
my
it?
file, the only agreement I show is the mental health one. I don't show the other one. I just went back and checked, and it's not in this file. I don't know whether she reviewed it in another file.
Okay.
My understanding, this was the mental health one, so I was confused when it came up, so.
So I would make a motion that we approve for the Ninth Brain Contract 25-04, subject to the county attorney's office review.
It's okay.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion, Commissioner Bingham, a second, Commissioner Vincent, to approve the Ninth Brain Contract 2504 with the caveat that the county attorney's office will review it, make sure it's good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay. All right, that takes us to our public comment portion of our meeting. Again, those wishing to make public comments that should sign in the comment roll. The paper's back there. They are responsible to follow the rules outlined by the County Commission for Rules and Procedures. Speakers will have 1 3-minute opportunity to speak regardless of the number of items they wish to address, and speakers need to address the comments to the County Commission only, and it's a time to be heard. There will not be back and forth dialogue with the commissioners. And if they choose to file a copy of their remarks, they can do so with the county clerk's office, and the county clerk can make that information available to the county commission. So it looks like we have one individual, Deanna Hardy, that wanted to talk today about the 2025 tax increase. Deanna, if you want to come up.
Okay, Deanna Hardy Brigham. The Box Elder Committee of Liberty is disappointed that the 2025 taxes were increased at all when so many citizens are struggling. Many citizens who were on fixed incomes came before the commission during the public hearing and pled with you not to raise taxes, but their pleas went unheard. Even though the tax increase was not for the full initial amount first proposed, the 12.54% increase still harms the constituents you are supposed to be serving. What are those on fixed incomes supposed to do? Our Heavenly Father wants His children to have property, prosperity, posterity. Remember the Abrahamic covenant. Are you not fighting against God when you keep taking the purchasing power from the people? Therefore, if the people do not get to keep their hard-earned money from their labors, they cannot have property and prosperity or the funds to take care of their posterity. The average citizen wage in Box Elder County is $55,000, and the top end is $72,000. Our elected representatives are making way more than the average citizen in our county. Public servants are just that, and are not to be enriched on the backs of those they're supposed to be serving. Comparing our county with other counties is not correct, because it should be evaluated on what the citizens are making in each respective county. There's also a trend where each city and county is raising their salaries, competing against each other. Again, it should be on the average salary of the citizens represented. Remember, government was instituted among men to protect the inalienable rights given by God, and not to keep, I quote, erecting multiple new offices to harass the people and eat out their substance, close quote. This quote was the 10th complaint filed by our founding fathers against the King of England when they wrote the Declaration of Independence. Is not our present government repeating history, repeating the mistakes of the past? There is nothing new under the sun. We keep making the same mistakes over and over again. I guess our lesson is that we do not learn from history. Tyranny has raised its ugly head again. The Box Elder Committee of Liberty petitions this commission to restore elected representatives' wages back to what is comparable to the average citizen's salary, and to restore our government back to its limited and proper role. We need to attract those citizens who really want to serve the people instead of those that want to enrich themselves on the backs of the people. Thank you.
All right, thanks. That concludes all of our public comment that's signed up for today. And, let's see.
I did sign a roll of some sort.
That was a roll, but there's a form that, do we have the forms back there still? Okay. If you'd like to make a public comment because you didn't know about the roll, I'll let you come up, and it's a 3-minute period where you can come up and make a public comment here. But I will have to make sure we
Just
have
sign the form on the way out.
Yeah, we'll just have to put the form in, so.
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity. My name is Curtis Christensen, and what I'm here to address tonight is the safety of our 6800 West Iowa String Road, the one that services the western part of Box Elder County, PNG, the landfill. I all of a sudden got into a situation where I needed to drive a person to work out there. And even though I'm familiar with the area, there's no markings on that road. It's a dark road. There's a deep canal on the west side of 6800. As I went there today, on the road from 5600 west or north in Bear River City, there is markings on the canal bridge. There is no markings on the canal bridge at the railroad tracks. That's very steep. That's very, very sharp. I think that should have some side markings put on it. And then again, on the 6800 West Iowa String Road, going north, there's no markings to tell where
to turn to the 5600 North Road. And I would request that, and I would be happy to meet with the road department. In fact, I'd like to be hired at an exorbitant wage because I'm retired and I could do this for you guys. I could point out all these faults because us old guys are dangerous to deal with. So that's what my concern is today, is the markings on those roads and those bridges. I'm afraid that there will be an accident.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Curtis,
Thanks
appreciate that.
Thanks for the information. All right, will you make sure, just on the back row back there, there's a piece of paper, if you could fill that, just put your name and your information on there so we can have it on file. Did you have something that?
I'm in the same boat as him.
Okay, come on up and we'll, yeah. Some people who aren't familiar with how our system works each time, that's fine. It's a 3-minute period, so go ahead. And just make sure you state your name here, and then we'll have you do the same thing, fill out that form back there.
My name is Paul Kuhn. Kuhn is Coon. I'm not a resident here in Box Elder County. I do have family here. I've invested in a 4-plex apartment unit in Tremont about 3 years ago. Owning this property has been extremely trying and very difficult. It does not provide an income. It barely breaks even most months. I've tried to keep the property nice, the units nice, and even with this, it has been very difficult to rent at a reasonable price in Tremont. Now this task has been made impossible. I recently was speaking with 2 other owners of the sister 4-plexes next to mine, and I was made aware of a significant increase in the property taxes that were coming. I never received the tax information because of an address error that has been remedied. However, I have it now. What has been learned now is that my property taxes increased 270% from the previous year. This increase went from $2,400 to $6,700. Because of this, and because of how escrow works, this has now increased my monthly mortgage payment $912.99. This is not a mortgage fee increase. This is an increase from the property value. The new mortgage increase is nearly $1,000 a month. It is unsustainable. I've spoken with Chris Wild. He was very kind. He was very informative, but I've been assured that there's nothing that can be done. Nothing. How is this possible? Nothing can be done, he said. Again, he was very kind and he walked me through their entire process. And even so, I believe the process is flawed. Doesn't mean it's illegal, but I do certainly believe it's flawed. Some might have the callous thought of just raise the rent. To those, I would say this is not how it works. You cannot just raise and change rents on a whim. I've been placed in an impossible scenario. My tenants, they are strapped and typically pay in 2 installments throughout the month in order to make their payments. I've tried to be a good landlord, be personable, understanding their situations, and work with them. I've tried to not be a robot and treat it as just a robot business with no feelings or thought of people. I would hope that you as elected officials for this county and its residents would do the same. Your decisions have significantly negatively impacted me, my tenants, and there will be major negative ramifications for us. It may be simple just to sign off on an increase, and I hope it is done with some empathy for others. You wouldn't stand for a $1,000 increase on your home mortgages. Maybe you could sustain it, maybe not. Property tax increases, water rate increases, utility service increases, they are all rising to unsustainable levels. If the desire is to have non-state residents, big corporations that are not personable, come in and buy everything and then jack up all the prices, you're well on your way. This is not just a me issue. This is a multiple family issue that is going to price us out of even being able to provide housing for your residents. I'm an 11-year full-time police officer. I've lived by a code as a police officer that just because you can do something doesn't mean that you always have to. This increase is most certainly legal. What you have done is certainly legal, and it is well within your rights, but it doesn't mean that it had to be done. You did not have to do this. Our money is sacred. We work hard for it just as you do. I want to provide good, sustainable, reasonable housing for the good people of Box Elder, and I do not believe that I'll be able to do so now. And there has to be a better answer than there's nothing that we can do. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our public comment. We've handled the warrant register, so we can go back to, we will have to go into closed session here in a minute, but we can go back to item number 7 on here. So we'll go back to item 7 of the commissioners, appointing a 2025 chairman for the commission. Commissioner Vincent.
I'd make a motion that we appoint Boyd Bingham as the chair, commission chair for 2025.
And I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, Commissioner. I guess you can handle the next part.
So we met together and we reviewed the commission assignments. We have them in front of us, and really, we didn't make an awful lot of changes.
I can explain them real quick if you want.
if you wouldn't
So
mind.
Commissioner Bingham has had realistically very little. The only change for Commissioner Bingham is he now is, we have the Boundary Commission as a new assignment that he's taken on, along with the other assignments he was already having. Major changes for myself was I'll be taking tourism and working on the Tourism Council. And we'll, let's see, I think that's, and then be on the Mineral Lease Board will be the couple of changes for myself. And then Commissioner Vincent will be taking similar list that we had in the past. He'll be on the Bragg Governing Board with us, the Human Resources with all three commissioners, the Warrant Register, which we do each commission meeting, and the Emergency Services Board. Commissioner Vincent will also be taking on the Fairgrounds, the Landfill, Transportation, and our Roads Department. And he will also be serving on the Bookmobile Board. And then he'll be serving also along with us on the Utah Association of County Commissioners. He's also currently serving with the Boys and Girls Club, so he will continue in his role as a commissioner, serving with the Boys and Girls Club. He has said he will take on the responsibilities of serving on the Bear River Local Homeless Council. He'll take over the responsibility I had on the Chamber of Commerce, and he'll be serving as our representative for the county commission on the Bear River, the Box Elder Chamber of Commerce. He will be taking on the role of working with our COG and our Mayor's Association. He'll be on the Air Quality, working with Air Quality Board, Quality Growth and Economic Growth, Education, and working with our transportation folks in UTA and UDOT. And perhaps some Wasatch Front Regional Council co-chair assignments. And he's also currently serving on the the Brigham City Community Hospital Board. So those are the assignments that we have in front of us that we need to make a motion. And I would make a motion to accept the committee assignments and boards that we have in front of us.
Second.
We have a motion made by Commissioner Perry and seconded by Commissioner Vincent. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
We'll make a motion that we go into closed session to talk about litigation.
Make a motion, we go into a closed session?
I made that motion. You
Oh,
want to?
sorry. Second?
Okay, we have a motion to go into closed session to talk about litigation. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're moving into closed session.
Yeah, weird animal now, because he's not. Sure.